Good afternoon and welcome back to A Contagious Smile, where every smile tells a story. I have a very wonderful, beautiful lady, Lisa, with us who is going to help you smile and help bring resources that we really need, whether it's women or men, because men will do it too. We hide ourselves behind food. I'm as guilty as anyone else. And so we get very low self-esteem, even if we're still trying to rebuild our self-esteem. We just do it for comfort. I'm guilty. I'll go to the kitchen to go get a pen and I come back with a cookie or whatever it may be. And that is not what I went in there for. So I am so glad to have Lisa with us because she is not a weight loss coach. She is a body image specialist. She helps people realize she undiets you, which I hate the word diet. I think it's ridiculous. And I'm so glad to have her here. I'm going to quit mumbling on and just welcome you, Lisa. Thank you so much for finding the time to come on here with us today.
Thank you. And it is my privilege. And one of my favorite things to talk about is to help women think that they have not failed in their relationship to food and to understand that food is just the messenger and we are so much more than a number on the scale.
Well, I love that. I think the scales are the worst invention ever.
They have no value.
Right.
They have no value other than to demoralize you. And just kind of stepping right into it, unless there is a medical reason, you do not have to be weighed at the doctor's office. It is your right to say, no, thank you.
I do that. I'm like, you're not ruining my day.
No, there is no reason unless they are trying to dose something or trying to see if you're going to medically fit into a type of machinery so that they can help you plan versus make you feel like crap.
I agree completely. Oh, what a light. So how are you different from a weight loss coach?
So my story is 5 years ago, I thought I was going to be the best weight loss coach out there. I had been dieting since I am 12 years old. I am now 57.
No, you're not.
I am 57.
You don't look it.
It's because the actions and the behaviors I take and a good gene pool. And a little bit of luck. But I had been dieting. My whole self-worth was always wrapped up in the number on the scale. And when I shifted careers from catering to health and wellness, I thought, arm me with some education, my diet history, all my restrictions, my deprivations, all the information I knew about nutrition. I could do all these things better than most. Not to say that I didn't do the typical roller coaster, but I could go back and get there.
Right.
And when I started working with my clients, and they would be making amazing progress with their actions, their behaviors, how they were feeling, their mental health, their thought process. And then it would be quote unquote, share your progress day, which meant tell me, did you gain weight, lose weight, stay the same? What happened? And then they would feel defeated, demoralized. And I would feel horrible because my success was also kind of tied up in their success. And in addition, it started to make me look at my own actions and behaviors and my thought process. And when I'm in my sweet spot, I was weighing myself several times a day to make sure I didn't gain an ounce. And if I tipped that scale, I wouldn't eat or I would cut my calories significantly so that I would have the balls to get back on the scale. Because of my love of learning and desire to support my clients, I came across a book that changed my life. And the book is called Health at Every Size. And it was written by Linda Bacon, who now goes by Lindo Bacon. And that book led me to the practice of intuitive eating. And intuitive eating, so there's two things going on. Health at Every Size shifted my thoughts that you do not have to be, a thinner body is not a better body, a thinner body is not a healthier body. It does not have the value that we have been taught to believe. In that book, they talked about the practice of intuitive eating. And I discovered all of these traits that I took with such great pride, my willpower, restriction, deprivation. I was knee-high in disordered eating patterns and very close to an eating disorder. Intuitive eating, the combination of Health at Every Size and intuitive eating shifted my life personally and professionally. And I knew ethically and morally, I could never support another human being to lose weight. So intuitive eating is a practice. You cannot fail it. So wherever you are in your life, it is not you're going to wake up in the morning and either be or not be an intuitive eater. It is about understanding and adapting the principles as they work best in your life. And as long as you are counting calories and weighing yourself, that is the only rule that you have about intuitive eating, is that you can't do those things, because that keeps
Sign
you
me up.
because it keeps you disconnected from your mind and your body. So if you're looking at food and you're thinking, I want to practice intuitive eating, but you're counting calories because you're ultimately thinking about losing weight, it keeps you disconnected. It keeps you in your head. So the principles, there's 10 principles. The first one is rejecting diet culture, which is about all the messaging that we have received day in, day out, the before and after pictures that tell you what you should eat, how you should think, what you should look like, and understanding, being able to question, is that really true? Because the answer is no. Those are just somebody else's stories to sell you something. The second principle is to honor your hunger, because as dieters, we want to ignore our hunger, because if we think if we miss breakfast, then, I can just eat a little bit for lunch.
Right.
And then, I can manage through dinner. But then what happens is that dinner becomes a food frenzy because you're starving. Our bodies don't like to be starving, so they rebel because our survival instinct kicks in. There's nothing we can do about it. You might be able to do it for days, weeks, or months, but the rebound is there. When you honor your hunger, you have your body adjust and learn, and it begins to trust that food is going to come. So you don't have that cycle. Permission to eat food. How many times have you said, here's my, it's a cheat day, I can have this, or I'm just going to have these cookies. And then you eat it all because tomorrow you're going to be good.
Right.
When you give yourself permission that you can eat it and it's available at any given time, you don't need to eat as if it's the last supper every time, because you learn like, oh, I can have a handful today, I can have a handful tomorrow, but I don't have to have the full,
Box.
bucket of box. Like it is such a hard concept for dieters to understand, that they could actually have permission and freedom and trust to eat. So a lot of it we're talking about is, shifting our mindset,
Okay.
challenging the food police, those voices that tell you that you are a horrible human being. Oh, I ate cookies, I'm so bad. Food has no moral value. We want to take the judgment off of food and focus on how food makes you feel, without the rules, without the rhetoric, without that dialogue continually going on. Satisfaction. And satisfaction is so much greater than just the food that you're eating. You could go, one of the things that I always go back to is when I was in the middle of my divorce, my ex-husband, didn't want the divorce. And he found this, beautiful, amazing restaurant, and he wanted to go and talk. And my heart, like my stomach is in knots. I got tense from, head to toe, and the menu, it looks amazing.
One of everything.
There was no satisfaction because I was so stressed. I couldn't
Right.
even eat. Like, I ordered this food and it sat there, and I didn't even want to take it home because it reminded me of such a horrible experience. So satisfaction is not just about the food. It is about learning to cope with your emotions with kindness. What is your environment like? How are you treating your body? How are you feeling emotionally, mentally, physically? When we are satisfied, we're not always looking for that something else. Feeling your fullness. We often are multitasking when we're eating. We are, not paying attention. We're disconnected. And we don't pay attention to the different sensations that happen in our body as we go from hunger to fullness. So learning to notice those cues. You're never going to get it right 100% of the time, and it doesn't matter. Creating that awareness so that you can learn to respond versus react. Respecting your body. A body that is respected, we treat it better. Coping with your emotions with kindness. Movement that makes you feel good versus working out to shrink your body. So what often happens is, I'm going to go work out, I'm going to do these things, and then you don't notice the change and you're like, ah, screw it. How
Exactly
does it make you feel?
right.
What movement brings you joy? And nutrition comes last so that we don't turn these principles back into a diet.
I love those. And I don't know who came up with the word diet. It's horrible. You know what stressed is backwards, right? It's like a joke. It's desserts.
Right.
It's so not fair. And the thing is, a lot of us just go down there and eat, just eat. I work 20 hours a day. I know it's horrible. I shouldn't be doing it, but I do. And besides that, I used to not get to sleep for a couple days at a time because I was watching her and I had to make sure, until everything was, it's just as a parent, it's what you do. And I literally, like, I've done a lot of things. I've stopped drinking the sweet tea. I only drink unsweet. But I do have one Splenda in the whole thing, which I think when I watch like my husband who has coffee and he puts like this much sugar in, and I'm like, okay, one pack of Splenda, it's not so bad. I don't eat red meat. I don't do potato chips. I don't do fast food, but I can't lose weight. And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't figure
So,
it out.
so there's, first of all, health and wellness is a moving target. We don't just arrive. What worked for us today may not work for us tomorrow. So we all have different opportunities and needs and different ways in which we can improve our health and wellness. When we take the number off of the scale of how we're going to measure our success, we can focus on the actions and the behaviors, because that's the thing that starts to make us feel better. When you practice intuitive eating, I have no idea if you're going to gain weight, lose weight, or stay the same. And I don't care. And I totally respect the fact that, we all want to lose weight because we have been trained to do that. So I don't want you to think that I am discrediting that or not hearing it.
Sure. Right.
It is. So you mentioned, your sleep is probably disrupted.
Yes.
You have 20 hours of work. So I'm guessing you run on high levels of stress and adrenaline and have a lot of cortisol running through your system. I'm guessing you don't have a lot of downtime to lower that, tools to manage your stress and anxiety during the day. And I'm just guessing because I don't, we've met literally 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
So this is just
But you're
what
right
I'm
on it.
hearing. This is what I'm hearing in your conversation. So when I work with clients like you, we kind of break down on, first of all, your awareness. You are very aware of your actions and your behaviors. The second thing is your vision. What does your best self look like in the future? And then taking that step back and saying, what's really important for you to talk about today? What is that one, what's top of your mind? And what is that smallest next step that we can take that's going to have you start feeling better? So that it is all about what you're ready to shift, not what I tell you to do, because that's irrelevant. You have grit, tenacity, you are strong, like you have great strengths to build upon, to take whatever actions and behaviors to learn how to implement them one small thing at a time. I mean, you're a survivor. I mean, that's what you do. How do you shift those skills to support the other changes that you may be ready to take?
Right. And that's what I want to bring to the listeners, is because they deserve that. They deserve to feel comfortable and confident. And we try to help that confidence come back. And I try to provide them all these resources and everything that I can do, but this is not my wheelhouse. So that's why I'm so glad again to have you, is because how can someone start this process? What is the first few steps to take in order to start to feel like a human again? Because we lose who we are. We completely forget who we are. We lose who we are. We don't even feel like we're alive.
You
We're
feel
going through
nothing. You're
that.
numb.
Right.
You're numb. You're in
Absolutely.
survival. You're in survival mode. And self-care is not just about going and getting a manicure and a pedicure. Self-care might be, I need to take 30 seconds to breathe. Self-care might be, here's that negative language that I am telling myself, I deserve this, I did this and this is what happened. And, domestic violence is not my forte. How do we shift those thoughts to, you might not be ready to leave, but you might say, someday I might be ready to leave. Other women are ready to leave. Someday I can get there. How do we build that small stepping stone so that we create new believable thoughts? So it's the same way with our relationship with food. Food is just the messenger. Think about whatever you are going through. If you didn't have food to soothe that stress, that anxiety, can you imagine how much more stressed you could be?
Right.
So food is not the negative or this horrible thing. It is about how do we build other tools in the toolbox in addition to the cookie box.
Right.
So this, everybody's first step is about awareness. You can't change what you're not aware of. And if you're in survival mode, you might not be ready, and that's okay. It is when you are ready to come up for that breath. What is that first step that you want to take? And only you know that first step. Is it about, learning new stress techniques? Because when you become less stressful, you can then learn to connect with your body more and notice the difference between the physical and the emotional hunger. And you might say, oh, like I'm noticing this. I may still eat, and I'm going to take that 30-second breath, but I'm going to create the pause so that I can start to just bring down my nervous system a bit. So there is no best place because everybody is individual, and we need to connect to find out what is your best first step to build self-efficacy and confidence that you can make the shifts.
So why is it some people go in there because they just feel like there's an emptiness within them and they want something to fill it? And let's just pick something out. So you have some Little Debbies in there, and then you have some carrots in there, but 10 out of 10 times you're going to reach for the Little Debbies. Like, I've tasted, my daughter loves them. I hate them. I think they taste horrible. But if I was stressed and I'm like trying to whatever, I will eat them. And she's like, Mom, I thought you hate those. I do. But I'm not grabbing carrots and like low fat ranch or whatever, and I'm not eating that. And I just about, I'm like, well, I can't because I can't chew it with my jaw. But why do we go for the nasty, quick fix sugar high that crashes us versus something that, I understand. I have a lot of people that say, well, I don't have time to make a healthy meal really quick. I don't have time for this. I just grab cookies. Well, grab some carrots, grab some peanut butter, grab some Triscuits and peanut butter or something of that nature. And I can't preach that because I don't do it. So, and I don't preach what I don't do. So, why do we go for that sugary fix and then we crash down and then have to go get another one? Why can't we just say, let's do this instead?
Because we get that instant high.
Even if
We
it
get
tastes
that,
nasty.
we get that instant rush. Or, it's habit. What was your comfort foods as a child? There's so many different reasons that people go for specific foods. What you also notice, though, is when you become aware, is that it's good for 5 minutes. 20 minutes later, you're not satisfied.
Right.
So it's understanding, where did this habit come from? What are we trying to, I don't want to use the word fix, but what are we trying to fix? Because it's like an instantaneous relief. We get that relief, and then the cycle continues because we haven't addressed the problem. It's the Band-Aid.
It is the Band-Aid. It doesn't.
It's the Band-Aid. So if you skin your knee and you put a Band-Aid on it and you haven't cleaned it, you haven't put any antibiotic on it, and then you're like, oh, a week later, I'm like, oh, this thing's kind of nasty and infected.
Right.
It's no different with food. You're just putting the food in, which is your Band-Aid, but you're not addressing what you need. Is it, if you are struggling, do you, what kind of social support do you have? Social isolation? Do you, I refer to it as social nourishment.
Right. And a lot of people going through this don't have any.
They're isolated.
Right. That's why I tell everybody, listen, and just, black out the phone. Even if you're home, at the house, I can't say home, at the house, and the phone is black screen, the attacker, abuser won't know you're listening if he's doing whatever, and listen to the inspiration and realize that you're not alone. You have an amazing support system. They might not be blood related, but some of the best family isn't blood related. Some of the best people in your life aren't DNA matched.
Right. I'm trying to remember the analogy, and I might screw it up,
That's
but
okay.
when we were growing up, you know, it was, we used to say, like, you can pick your friends, you can pick your nose, but you cannot pick your family.
Yes. You got it.
Choose who, like, who do you want to pick?
Perfect.
Who do you want to be in your circle? And one person, one person. Social nourishment and social isolation has such a negative impact, and especially if you are in times of stress, need, violence. You are, yes, you are alone, but you don't have to be alone.
Right.
Find that support, find that one person, and food is not your enemy. It's one of the skills that you are using to continue to survive. And when you are ready and you have those skills and you want to connect to learn how to build those skills, that's the next step.
I also learned, Lisa, and I did not know this at all during the period of when I went through my own abuse, and it was brought to my attention. And then I sat there afterwards and I went, you know what? They're right. Like, I never thought of it this way, but subconsciously, we could also be eating not only for the comfort, but for the appeal of it, so that the attacker abuser, because I don't call them a partner, you're not a partner with them at that point, is to make yourself unattractive in their eyes so they don't want you. And so that's another reason. And when I was told that, I was like, what? Wait. And that makes sense, because you don't think about that then. You think about, I have no one to call. I have no one to talk to. I have another bloody nose. I have whatever it is. I'm just going to shove a box of cookies in my face because at least I have something with me. I can hold on to something that's not going to break me or hurt me right now. And you maybe subconsciously are doing that because, like, my ex told me how I could wear my hair, what outfits I had to wear. And I was in corporate America. I was an executive in corporate America. In July, I'm wearing turtlenecks to cover bruises around my neck. And it's like, now I understand what she was saying when she was like, maybe you were also trying to keep it where you weren't attractive in his eyes to keep him away from you. And
Trying to create
you
safety.
never think that back then. That's just not something that it doesn't compute. At least it didn't for me. And a lot of women I talk to have said, now I've never heard that from a man, but I've heard it from a lot of women that have gone through it, that they never thought about it that way, but now it makes sense. And it makes sense as to why they did what they did. I mean, I'm working with a wonderful woman right now. I wish she could, and I'm going to make sure she listens to this one. I wish she could see the beauty of herself like I see her. She doesn't even want to come out of the situation, and I'm not pushing her, but I'm telling her that, I know she lives and breathes for her kids, but she's realizing that we are here to teach them the next level of life, which is, to prepare to be an adult. And I keep saying to her, do you really want your son to see that that's okay of how you treat a woman or your sister or your partner? Do you want your daughter to see that this behavior is acceptable? Because this is all their normal. This is their normal. So outside, that's abnormal and strange and uncomfortable for them. This is what they're accustomed to. And she's realizing that, and she's slowly starting to maybe realize that I need to start putting a safety plan together. And I think she is, because I've started working with her on how to make things safer in the home, like little things she can do little by little to take out some of the dangers. You can't take them all out, but we can take out some. And she said to me, I'm so miserable on top of it. And I said, well, why? And she's like, I've gained 75 pounds and I was a high school athlete. And I was like, I was told once that maybe we did this subconsciously to make ourselves unattractive for them. And she goes, that would actually make sense because I'm never hungry because I feel so broken. I'm never hungry. I just shove food in my mouth to keep going. And that would make total sense now.
Right?
So,
And,
yeah, I get it.
and you talked about, self-esteem, self-compassion. How do we, self-compassion is one of the most important components to healing your relationship with food in your body. And it is recognizing that your needs matter, not just somebody else's needs. And if you're in survival mode, it's not a position that I have been through divorce and not domestic violence. So I cannot speak to what that experience is like. Emotional abuse, I can relate to, but the physical, I don't know anything about. We all need self-compassion, common humanity. You are not alone. you are absolutely not alone, that somebody else is sitting exactly where you are. And when you reach out and know that it is not, you don't have to be isolated. Common humanity, kindness, mindfulness, being in that present moment. Self-esteem kind of pits you against other people. So if you are having a great day, like you're feeling strong, all of a sudden you're empowered. On those crummy days, then you kind of feel like you have to be scraped off the floor. Self-compassion is there, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
How do you bring self-kindness so that you know that you value too? You matter. And our bodies, those are just the shells that we landed in.
That's
Those 70 pounds, I know they mean a lot because I get it. And we can shift our thoughts to understand what they really are about. It is about you are surviving, you are stressed, you are emotional, you are disconnected, you are doing everything you can to just wake up, breathe, take care of your children, and food is your friend right now.
right.
And it's not the enemy. It's just the messenger that's telling you that you have unmet needs and need continual support to be able to, with time, patience, compassion, make those shifts of how you want to be your best self in the future.
Lisa, it's been so amazing having you on. Can you give us some kind of story that you've been through with maybe one of your clients that brings a smile to everybody's face? We try to leave it on a happy note. And then we also want a quote, because one of the greatest things you can do is have someone quote you at the end of the day and not anybody else. So can you give us one of your best client stories and then one of your favorite quotes?
One of my best client stories. I was working with a client and hated their job, hated their job, and ups and downs with depression and self-worth and just feeling like depleted and defeated. A job shift shifted everything, reduced the drinking, reduced the depression, reduced the outlook in life. It's not about the food. Food is just the messenger. So that noticing that one small shift, I mean, that was a big shift, but even the smallest shifts can have a positive impact in your life. And it's the small shifts that add up.
The first
So,
step that means the most.
yes,
You're headed in the right direction.
yes. Quote, life is messy and magical, filled with disappointment and discovery.
I like that.
It is from the book, Wake Up Grateful. It is one of the most beautiful books I have ever read. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. Love that book, Wake Up Grateful.
That's fantastic. Lisa, tell us everybody how to find you. Where can we find you?
You can find me at Lisa Dahl, DAHL, wellness.com. So lisadahlwellness.com. You are welcome to email me at lisa@lisadahlwellness.com. And I offer free office hours. I offer once a month, I offer free office hours. So if you go to my website and look at upcoming events, and I also offer curated conversation once a month. So, you know, I don't know when these are shown, so I'm not going to say what's coming up. But if you go to my website, I do offer those two free things each month, as well as coaching and group programs. So if you are listening, have questions, feel free to reach out. I would love to be able to help you take that next step that's going to have you feeling better about being in your body and about your body.
Lisa, thank you so much. We're going to make sure all of her links are in the notes so everybody can find her. And I'm going to make sure that we keep this one around and hope that she'll come back on with us again soon.
I would love to continue the conversation. So thank you so much for
Thank
having me.
you. Thank you so much.